get by. It resides between my eyes. Walk through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like 100 grand.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Wise.
Dr. Jeremy Wise here, founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs and leaders. Today is no different. I have Dustin Titus. You can check them out at Titus.one. And Dustin, before I formally introduce you, and Dustin's been doing this for over 17 years. I think I don't want to age you or anything, Dustin, but so I'm excited to hear your journey and experience. Before I'm going to mention a couple other episodes people should check out before I introduce Dustin and his company. But since this is part of the Top Agency series, Dustin, here's a couple interesting ones. I had Kevin Hurrigan of Spinutech. He's had an agency since 1995. It was interesting to hear not just the landscape of agency world, but also the landscape of the internet and also the business world and the ups and downs he had throughout the journey. So that was an interesting episode. Another one was with Dee Clevitt. Dee Clevitt has an interesting niche. We'll talk about your niche, Dustin, but she does SOPs. So she comes in and is an easy button for a company to do SOPs. So if they want to smooth out the client onboarding, the staff onboarding, or any operational pieces, they call her. And that was a good episode because we kind of geek out on productivity tools, operations, all the, the non-sexy stuff that makes things work. So that was a really good episode as well. And this episode is brought to you by Rise 25. At Rise 25, we help businesses give to and connect to their dream relationships and partnerships. And how do we do that? We actually do that by helping you run your podcast. We're an easy button for a company to launch and run a podcast. We do one of the most important things, if not the most important things, the strategy, the accountability, and the full execution. So we kind of doesn't call ourselves the magic elves that run in the background and make it look easy for the host and the company so they can develop amazing relationships, create amazing content, and most importantly, run their business. The number one thing in my life is relationships. I'm always looking at ways to give to my best relationships. And I found no better way over the past decade to profile the people and companies I most admire and share with the world what they're working on. So if you've thought about podcasting, you should. If you have questions, go to rise25.com or email us at support@rise25.com. I love also, Dustin, introducing my guests to each other. It's one of my favorite things to do. So I am excited to introduce Dustin Titus. He's the Chief Digital Officer at ZoomerMedia, but he is agency president at Titus.one. We'll explain what that means and the journey there. But they power advertisers and publishers scaling to make the biggest impact on the world. They do that by connecting them to the right people, ideas, and addressable audiences. And Titus.one have helped a lot of clients. I just mentioned, monetizing publishing networks to vodka or alcohol brands, to cannabis brands, to lots of other types of brands and niches. So Dustin, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Just start off for a second and talk about Titus.one and what you do. And there is a video component to this. So if you are listening to the audio, I'm going to pull up their site and we're going to take a look.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks. So yeah, Titus.one's a digital marketing agency. Originally actually started in the CPG space. We were working with a number of different confectionery and chocolate companies, and that sort of grew from there into alcohol, beverage, and then marine recreation, and then facilitating or helping to facilitate publishing relationships as well. As we spend more money on advertising and working with Pub Direct, we thought, hey, it'd be cool to help pubs, help advertisers as well. So it's a well-rounded agency focused on full service, but our version of full service. You mentioned that relationships are important to you. They're also very important to us. But the way that we execute our relationships is probably the most important part for us. And so, working with in multiple integrated agency teams over the years, what we really felt was missing in the agency space was a very customer service focused agency that that really did actually deliver white glove experiences. So Titus One is definitely built on a couple of different principles, our core values, which are freedom, flexibility, hard work, dedication, and then focusing on working with clients that are aligned to those values, and then building team members that are also there too.
So talk about the niche, how you eventually made it to monetizing publishing networks, because it sounds like you started off as CPG.
Yeah.
Talk about the evolution of the niches
Sure.
that you've gone through.
Yeah, sure. So my background is computer science, and oddly enough, where we really started, 17 years ago, was helping CPG take advantage of newsfeed algorithms through content programming, and as that sort of evolved, more and more clients started asking for more technical based services.
So what does that look like?
Yeah, so if you're building content programs and somebody wants to start an email platform and integrate it with their website and so on, we really started to help out with the technical aspect of their systems. So today we probably do just as much technical work as we do sort of like brand and creative strategy, because we can kind of dig really deep into technical strategy and move that across your CDP platform and into your monetization systems as well. So as we do more work there, what we found was we were working with we'd be working with or buying advertiser direct publisher direct media, and we were getting terrible results from some of the pubs we were working with. And so then you start digging into why you're getting those results, and most brands have one of two problems, right? They have a funnel problem or they have a traffic problem. And if you're confident that your funnel is running well, then you've got to take a look at your traffic. And so working with a number of different Canadian publishers, we felt we could really help them do a good job of working with their traffic and their audiences and helping support advertisers. So that's when we started taking on publisher stuff.
Give me an example of what that looks like. So first it was like, I don't know, whatever it's a cannabis brand or vodka brand, or like, what does that look like with when you were working with them and where they're being placed, et cetera?
So, I think the most important part to understand really is like legalization in Canada from a cannabis perspective happened, I think 2017, 2018, if I can remember. There was a significant age gating component that needed to be in place in order for cannabis brands to advertise with publishers. And so as we were kind of approaching different pubs that we were interested in working with or placing advertising with, we noticed that they didn't have first-party data that we could absolutely identify, have birth dates on, and so on. And so we needed to start putting in programs with them so that we could get the kind of data and age-gated sort of experience that we needed in order to serve our cannabis ads. So for the most part, that was sort of the foray into working closely with publishers, was helping them to integrate the technology they needed to help service the cannabis advertising that we wanted to place.
So talk about then from the publishing network side and what you do with them.
Yeah. So with publishers at the moment, we're focused primarily on SSP integration with both open bidding and header bidding type environments, and then working through DSP and then into identity graphs, or in some cases content graphs. But we're working on taking a look at what advertising products they have online, what we can optimize more of, what's not working, what is working, how we integrate higher impact. I mean, everyone's asking for higher impact ad placements. I think we're done with MPUs and sort of like lower impact stuff. And so one thing about the publishing space is that they're really behind on high impact ad placements. I mean, some of them are doing a better job than others for sure. But when you're up against some of the larger, let's call them like programmatic resellers, who have beautiful creative experiences, but might not be able to have the kind of control they want over those creative experiences, working pub direct, we can increase that high impact availability with better, bigger, more interactive ad units, and we can do that without having to go through the traditional means, which is like a big box and then expanding that big box into a more elegant experience. We can actually just start with it and launch with that elegant experience. So,
what does high impact look like? Like, give me an example of that within a publishing network.
Yeah, so
maybe if there's a specific ad, so I can kind of visualize it.
Sure. So a lot of people like look at high impact. I mean, in the traditional sense, billboards, half pages, 970 by 250s, 300 by 600s, interscrollers. We're looking at
maybe there's a site we can pull up. What, I know you mentioned before we hit record.
Yeah.
I don't know if Daily Hive or The Peak or one of those, and we can take a look and see.
Yeah, I would take a look at, if you want to see like some really great high impact stuff, take a look at fiercepharma.com. Fierce is doing a really great job of higher impact ad units. And you'll see those sort of pop up.
It's just fiercepharma.com.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. Cool.
So yeah, these are all really great experiences that we're working on providing and working with advertisers, as an agency to help take advantage of these, and then working with publishers to help implement them as well.
All right. So let's take a look here. So here we go.
Yeah. So
Fierce
this one.
Pharma.
You've got a big one up top, and then as we sort of scroll down through the site, you'll see some in-stream, out-stream video placements, and you'll see some sticky ad units on the side. I think that big box at some point will stick as well, but we'll kind of see these ad experience kind of get a little bit better as we roll through the page. You might need to go to an article to see sort of like the true experience. So maybe click on a link here.
Any of these, like this one?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, cool. Yeah. So here's a half page, shows up on the right hand side for Google Workspace, and then as you scroll through the article, you'll see different ad placements sort of pop up. So yeah, our goal is to help publishers continue to deliver what advertisers are looking for, and so having experiences on both sides of the fence, we can work closer with publishers to help them get the advertisers what they're looking for.
Got it. So these type of, publishing networks, you'll help them further kind of monetize the content and the site and the traffic with various placements, whether it's on the homepage or different articles and everything like that.
Yeah, and now we're getting into more of the audience side of things, right? Because the content monetization is cool and the placements are great, and the different types of experiences we can deliver are pretty neat too. But now again, we sort of spoke about it earlier, but the third-party deprecation stuff that's happening, from Google Chrome perspective, anyways, over the next sort of 6 to 12 months is really going to impact the type of addressability that we have and how we can access those audiences. So audiences are sort of the next step of monetization with publishers.
And also, we could see long table here. It's funny because I just had someone on the podcast who helps with their fulfillment. Cool. So here they are, long table,
right there,
which are, I think, pancakes or waffles mix. So that's awesome. Cool. I want to talk about, it's an interesting journey with ZoomerMedia and Titus One from client to acquisition, actually. Can you talk about when does ZoomerMedia first enter the picture for you?
Yeah. Sure. So Zoomer entered the picture in 2017. Our agency was focused on helping them with newsletter subscriptions and membership subscriptions, and running a lot of sort of traditional sort of like AdWords, Google Search, Google Display, programmatic retargeting, and Meta ads and so on. And our goal was to help increase the size of their first-party audience database, and both memberships for their magazine and for their not-for-profit that they work with as well, CARP.
Did the evolution of what you did with them, did that change, or was it the same from the beginning throughout?
Yeah, so as we continued to work with them, Zoomer really enjoyed our client experience. Again, super high touch. It's an agile for marketing sort of experience. So we're meeting with people weekly, both internal and external. We're doing monthly performance reviews. We're doing quarterly strategy reviews. We're doing annual planning. We're sending out weekly emails on Monday mornings to kind of let you know what we did last week, what we're doing this week, where we're blocked from you. And our goal is to really be as high touch as possible. And so as we continued our relationship with Zoomer, and as that grew sort of into the pandemic, we took on a lot of marketing for their TV divisions, their radio divisions as well, and sort of we're here to support them as they started to integrate newer brands to help their Gen Z millennial reach, like BlogTO and Daily Hive.
At what point in the conversation do you start discussing acquisition?
Yeah. So their CEO and I, Omri, have been working closely together since 17, and as our engagement continued to grow, we sort of discussed the idea that maybe they could use my help internally, and so bringing in an internal agency to help support their clients and their products was something that sort of started to make sense. So it was really like a growth thing. So as the relationship grew, we got to a point where it's like, hey, listen, does it make more sense for us to bring you internally than continue to support you as an external vendor?
What would you, looking back, because this happened, I mean, right now in time, several months back, that you would tell another founder on some lessons learned in navigating that conversation and acquisition?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think using the full breadth of your network as you have conversations around acquisition and what the deal looks like and the deal structure looks like, really leaning on every single person you have in that network to help look at what you're doing and how you're doing it. And I think using your community is the most important part. And leaning on your legal and accounting teams as much as possible. Through the acquisition is the most important thing you can do. They're really that runs the whole program. So,
how long did it take from first conversation to finalizing the acquisition?
Yeah, probably January to September. It was relatively quickly. Some of these acquisitions take a year or two. We did it within 9 months. So yeah, relatively fast.
Were there certain things, and I've had people on in the past talk about acquisition, and there's certain things that they had kind of deal breakers that they like, okay, whatever that is. Maybe it was, one person I remember said, I don't want to travel.
Yeah.
Because they had a young family, or other, the various things. Were there anything for you that you're like, everything's good, but I just want to make sure this piece for me is met?
Yeah, I mean, autonomy, transcendence. Those were things for me that like really needed to be met in order for me to feel comfortable with sort of leaving the shore behind, if you will, as far as running my own shop. And
I mean, you've done that for over 17 years, so it's a big change.
Huge change, but if you've got the autonomy you need to continue doing what you need to do, or know what you need to do, it feels a little bit easier, and so Zoomer's been a great partner and been able to deliver a significant amount of autonomy in my role and as an agency, and it's been a smooth transition so far. But it's always like, to me, I always look at, and this is sort of like the agile manifesto anyways, but like, really great teams need 3 things to be successful, right? That's transcendence, autonomy, and process. And so for me, it was like, if I have a new role with some autonomy within that organization, and I continue to build and grow my systems as I need to be successful, then I'm comfortable with what's going to happen longer term.
So does Titus One kind of function as a separate entity under Zoomer?
Yeah, we're 100% a separate entity, and we continue to operate independently. And my time's split, half between my CDO responsibilities and then on top of the agency roles too.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, how has your role changed after acquisition?
I mean, my schedule is pretty packed. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a frontline leader, so it involves a lot of conversations and building and growing teams. So I would say if anything, my schedule is a little bit bigger than it was. And I'm working across time zones with daily hives in Vancouver. So we're doing a lot of work into the early evenings, and so yeah, it's a packed schedule for sure.
I'm curious, and you don't have to tell me numbers, but from
Yeah.
structuring the deal,
Yeah.
how was the valuation figured out? Was it based off of EBITDA? How did they come, or when you had a company figure out the valuation?
Yeah, it was 100% based on EBITDA. And then we looked at sort of like the forecast from a client perspective, where we think we're going to be in 3 to 5 years, where we think we would be with or without sales support, where we think we can take this thing. We talked a lot about that, and then we also talked about the impact that I could have on the parent company as well, and what that would sort of like grow and generate as well. So it was a little bit of an acqui-hire more than anything else, but we were able to take a look at like sort of future impact and where we think we can go from a growth perspective.
And typically, I've found there's some combination of obviously cash and equity.
Mhm.
Is that similar in this
Yeah, I
case?
think it was a 100% cash deal. So yeah, we went that route instead, and
100% cash.
yeah,
Oh,
uh, and structured in an earnout, and yeah, and a new role. So
very exciting.
hmm,
Congratulations. That's awesome.
thank
What
you.
does the team look like at Titus One?
Yeah, so we really split our team amongst strategy, creative technology, media, and marketing, and we have a number of different sort of senior resources leading each of those teams. I think that as a smaller agency and one that sort of grew up over the last 10 years, we really focused on people first, and so we did a lot of engagements with our people, whether they wanted to be in a full-time employee, a part-time employee, a freelancer, a contractor. We really gave our people the opportunity to work with us however they wanted to work with us. We've been virtual since day one, by the way. So when the pandemic sort of hit, it was sort of business as usual. We've built all of our process and systems in a virtual environment. And so, we're relatively farther ahead, I think, than a lot of folks who are still trying to sort through, what's your return to work policy and how is everyone going to show up at the office? And it was never really a thing for us. We're really all about empowering our people to live their best lives. And so, that laptop lifestyle was part of the Titus One culture for a long time. It started as a project for me to go skiing more. So as I skied more, so business sort of grew, and here we are. So I really wanted to make sure we were able to support people that work with us in that same capacity as well.
So why did you start the agency way back when? What got
Well,
you? Because I could see you
yeah,
developing,
yeah,
obviously your background's in computer science.
totally. Yeah, my background is computer science. So after school, I wanted to go skiing for a while. So I taught skiing professionally at a few ski resorts in British Columbia, and I really enjoyed that lifestyle. And so we were actually I had a partner early days, and we were watching what was going on in sort of like in Silicon Valley, what was happening in San Francisco, and we decided to head down there on a regular basis. So we were doing like we're talking like 05, 06, right? So we were down at CES and we were down at like Google I/O when you could just walk in off the street with Google I/O and $50 on a student sort of like ID card, and they give you a bunch of handsets, and you sat through really cool programming experiences all day. But before it was sold out online in 15 seconds, sort of deals. And so we were doing a lot of that kind of stuff, and really hanging out and watching what was going on, and where we could be most successful and effective. And one of my first clients was on the Canadian Alpine ski team, and I helped him sort of build a Facebook page for the first time, and we started really looking at like how algorithms worked and what they were doing and how they were functioning. And at the same time, I was doing a lot of like I was actually working as a network administrator, so administering BlackBerry enterprise servers, Exchange servers, yeah, Windows servers, Unix stuff, like doing a lot more sort of that kind of stuff at night. And it sort of started to pair this world of like system administration with sort of like forward facing marketing and what that looked like. So yeah, it kind of snowballed from there. And we started doing a lot more marketing work and then a lot more technology work at the same time.
What was the first milestone client for you? Obviously, you had the first client, but what about after that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a consumer packaged good brand called Allen Candy Company, and Allen Candy produced a number of different confectionery and chocolate brands here in Canada, and candy canes was on their portfolio as well. So we took on Bigfoot Candy, which was a small little red Swedish berry tasting foot, and we grew communities there for them in both confectionery and chocolate portfolios.
Really interesting. I'm curious, Dustin, a really good, one of my favorite podcasts, Built to Sell, John Warlow.
Yeah,
And he talks about, he wrote the book Built to Sell, and he talks a lot about informing teams,
yeah.
or leaders in this acquisition process. I'm curious how you
Yeah.
navigated that. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe it didn't matter as much because you kind of were still a separate entity, but how did you navigate communicating with the team during these discussions?
Yeah, with my team, making them part of the process was probably the most important part of this. And making them part of the process the entire time, not just as part of the acquisition, was really number one for me. I think co-creation and the idea of co-creation from a social design perspective is one of the most important things we can do as leaders with our team members. And if we're co-creating, using an inside-out hierarchy rather than a top-down hierarchy, as far as our organizational structures are concerned, we'll get a lot of buy-in, and we'll be able to really help and support those people that work with us. I'm not a leader who dictates. I'm a leader who's there to support my team in whatever they want to do. And so when it was time for them to help support me, we worked together on working through the process and system together.
Did you go in? Did you have any concerns when you were first going to tell them that?
I mean, I cried through the entire meeting, which like had never happened before. But yeah, I mean, there always is concerns, I think, no matter what you're introducing or announcing of how it's going to be taken. But my goal was to have as many individual conversations as possible with leaders and even those on the front lines to sort of let them know sort of the direction that we're going to take the business and how and what kind of opportunity I see for them moving forward. And I think that's really important here.
So the way you navigated it was maybe you kind of talked to each person individually before bringing them all together.
Yeah, totally.
First of all, Dustin, thank you for sharing the journey, the lessons. I have one last question. Before I ask it, I want to encourage people. They can check out Titus.one, and they can also check out ZoomerMedia.ca to learn more about Zoomer as well. I'd love to hear some of your favorite resources. Resources could be some of your favorite books.
Yeah.
It could be some of your favorite software or tech stack. What are some of your favorite resources?
Sure. I mean, this is a huge question. I did a lot of my leadership work through reading. Reading, I would say, was the number one way for me to kind of get new ideas and information. And so I've got a long book list. In fact, I've got a book list that I like everyone in my team to read too, so they understand.
Lay it on me.
Sort of the guiding principles. Agile for marketing is really an important process. And, being a software developer, I was really able to take advantage of an agile approach. So, I would say agile is definitely, from a project and customer management perspective, something that I would definitely take a look at. There's a book that I read early days on that one, which was The Art of Doing Twice the Work in Half the Time.
One of my favorites. Yeah, Jeff
because
Sutherland and JJ Sutherland. Yeah.
You got it. So that was number one for me as far as like understanding how to engage and work with teams.
That was such a good book.
Yeah. I also had some early mentors that really focused on the scaling up methodology, which Vern Harnish, and it's sort of like a strategic coach thing. And so that was really important for us as well as we worked around. Some stuff I really like lately. 15 commitments of conscious leadership. I love the concept of operating below and above the line. I think that's just so ridiculously relevant in today's sort of socioeconomic sphere. The Intergalactic Design Guide, Harnessing the Potential of Social Design. That thing is fantastic. Social design for me, and as far as how our teams organize and operate and work together, is super important. And this book outlines, old ways of doing things versus new ways of doing things. And that for me was top of it for sure. So yeah.
I'm gonna have to look. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, from a tech stack perspective, we're using Jira as the foundation of everything we do. We love time tracking, so we can kind of measure and give our leadership as much visibility as possible. So we layer in a tool in Jira called Tempo. We use the Google Workspace platform as well, and we integrate Slack in there too. So yeah, it's a pretty standard stack. But what really gets us going though are our daily stand-ups. Our teams meet every day at 10 a.m. We meet on client projects once a week. We try with some of our larger clients. We meet with them once a week, if not bi-weekly. We send out Monday morning emails to sort of get in front of our clients on Monday morning to remind them sort of what's going on and how it's going. And I mentioned that sort of that monthly performance and quarterly strategy review. I think that's really important from a customer service perspective. So,
how do you run the daily stand-ups?
What'd you do yesterday? What are you doing today? And where are you blocked? So quick and easy. I mean, lately I've been really just focused on like where are we having problems and challenges, and I'm happy to celebrate the wins, but I'm really interested to know and help unblock team members as much as possible. And so those daily stand-ups for me are really like identifying those pain points and those pinch points in regular sort of project flows, and then understanding how I can unblock them.
I really appreciate it, Dustin. I will have to check out the 15 Commandments of Conscious Leadership and the Intergalactic Design one.
Yeah.
Scrum and Scaling Up. People can check out. I did an interview with Vern Harnish. That was a really good one. Who's the author of Scaling Up. So that was a good one. It's also a great book. But thanks for sharing this, Dustin. This is fantastic. Everyone, check out Titus.1. Check out ZoomerMedia.ca. More episodes of the podcast, and we'll see everyone next time. Thanks, Dustin.
Thanks.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I'm feeling like $100 grand.